Hello, welcome to another video blog for Agile Game Development. I'm Clinton Keith, and today we're going to talk about the 3 keys to building cross-discipline teams. Now, cross-discipline teams is a major focus of any Agile approach to game development. And we're going to talk about why that's important and what are the 3 things you can do to help build cross-discipline teams in your studios if you're struggling. Now, many studios I see have a very siloed or department-driven organization. And you can see this in all sorts of different ways. Each department will go off and make a design document for their game. They'll make a game design document and technical design document, come up with some art plans. And each group will go off into their corner and work on the parts that will someday come together for a milestone or an alpha date. And that's when they run into problems. They have crunch, extended crunch, death marches, or they end up compromising their vision for the game to hit that particular date. So with cross-discipline teams, we want to overcome a lot of those challenges. And example I think about very often, and I've seen quite a bit, is let's say you have an animator who is working on, let's say, some animations for a new feature, wall walking, that we want to get into our game. We want characters to walk on the wall. And they're given the task of getting about 5 characters worth of animations for wall walking into the game by, let's say, Friday. And they start working on it, and they soon discover that I can't get these animations in the game. There's a problem with the exporter, or there's a problem with the game engine. We don't know. So they'll turn to the person who assigned this to them, maybe the lead animator, and say, I can't get what you asked me to do done because there's a technical problem. The lead animator doesn't. Animation is not going to solve that problem, so they'll go to a producer, project manager type, report the problem, and it'll either get put into a bug database or hopefully they'll talk to a senior engineer, lead engineer, who will assign the task of fixing that problem, maybe next Tuesday. And then hopefully next Tuesday, that problem gets solved and the animator can continue working. Now, many of you have seen this type of dynamic happen, and you can easily list what some of the problems are. The delay in time. Now, I'm not going to get my stuff done by Friday if the fix isn't going to be in place by Tuesday. And it doesn't mean they sit around doing nothing. It probably means they just continue animating with the hope that, well, maybe my animation approach is correct. Otherwise, I'm going to have to redo all these 5 characters next week when we finally get it working and I discover what looks good or what actually works. So there could be some waste associated with it. Another problem is that, look at all these communication paths. Think something might go wrong along the way? Yeah, they might not fix what needs to be fixed. So the message can get garbled along the way. Or something else, another emergency might come up and it might get further delayed. Now, we're using the word delay quite a bit, and it reminds me of a saying by Fred Brooks, who wrote Mythical Man Month, a very, very famous project management book written, I suppose, 40, 50 years ago. And he was asked, why do projects get a year late or 6 months late? And he said, listen, you don't just wake up one day and find out that your project's a year late. Well, maybe you do, but it just doesn't happen overnight. What happens is you lose hours a day through things like this, through hundreds or thousands of little delays that happen. And this is another reason for cross-discipline teams. So an approach for cross-discipline teams, let's take Scrum for an example, is to say let's form these teams which have animators, engineers, modelers, designers, even Q&A in it. And let's have them share a goal of getting wall walking in the game. And this is one of the first keys I want to talk about of the 3 today, is to form cross-discipline goals. And so if we have wall walking as a goal, the team understands that they're going to succeed or not as a team getting wall walking in the game. Now there's plenty of reasons why we might not succeed. There's technical challenges, things like that, but it focuses them. It focuses them on what needs to be done. And it gets away from a particular problem that we see with siloed teams, where the animator gets the animation done and says, I'm done. Engineer puts the technology in place and tests it and says, I'm done. But we still don't have wall walking in the game. And neither one of these people are saying, it's my fault. They're saying, well, my part works. Well, in game development, there's lots of little cracks that open up all over the place that cause things to stop working. And this leads to maybe a lack of accountability when we're silo-driven that we want to address with cross-discipline teams. So having a shared cross-discipline goal helps lead to that. And it reinforces a sense of commitment when we remind teams, when we reinforce it with them to say, listen, I don't care how much of the animation is done. I don't care how well it passes all the unit tests in the code. We want to see wall walking in the game. And one of the things we're going to do is, as these features get added, and they usually take a little bit more time than the sum of all the individual tasks, like overcoming bugs. Really kind of hard to estimate bugs you haven't found yet. We're going to get a measure of the true cost of adding features that work in the game. And we're going to be able to better forecast. And so reinforcing this sense of commitment with the team. It's like it's either in the game or it is not in the game as your primary metric is going to go a long way to influencing them to act as a cross-discipline team. Now, tasks are important, and we let them manage that, and we mentor them through leadership about getting better estimates, better forecasting, things like that. But that shared commitment is more important. And finally, I like to let teams influence their formation. Now, one of the main principles of Scrum is self-organization, is that we want teams to not only determine their process for achieving a goal like wall walking and how they work together on a day-to-day basis, but we also want them to control their membership, because the biggest influencer on productivity is team chemistry. If we want teams to commit and work well together, there has to be a chemistry that works among them. Some of you may have heard of the Tuckman model, forming, norming, storming, and performing, for example. And one of the many models of team formation, which focuses on the interpersonal chemistry, what works, what doesn't. Sometimes you get two talented people that just don't work well together. Now, self-organization doesn't work overnight, and it's a big challenge in many studios where people are basically assigned to a team and given a set of tasks to accomplish, and that is their measure of success. And we can't just throw them in the deep end of the pool and say, hey, be self-organizing. It just doesn't work that way. So one of the things we can do is to, after they form these cross-discipline goals, we reinforce commitment. We ask them after sprints, ask them, are there any changes to your team that would help you achieve these cross-discipline goals? And our experience was, when we first started doing Scrum, started employing Agile, that we couldn't form cross-discipline teams. We had teams of designers, teams of engineers, teams of animators. But by asking them this question and reinforcing the commitment, we would have, say, for example, the animators come to us at the end of the sprint and say, you know what, we want an engineer, and we want that engineer. We want Sean. And we're like, well, why do you want Sean? And it's like, well, Sean, he drops whatever he's doing to answer our questions. He'll sit with us for hours, helping us get the exporter working, or to understand the animation state machine, or to fix a few bugs that might pop up. And so we let them have Sean, and it was a huge, huge boost to their productivity, not only in having someone there solving their problems, but having that little bit of sense of ownership over their destiny and their team formation by saying, hey, we all want to organize a little bit this way. And that kind of opened the door for other teams to say, hey, we have a preference. Can't always get the person that they want. But by asking them this question on a regular basis, we got that feedback, and slowly over time it led more to self-organization and much, much higher levels of productivity and engagement with the teams. All right, that's it. Those are the 3 keys. If you want more information, you can look on my blog. You can go on my website, clintonkeith.com. I'm also launching video training course pretty soon on frontrowagile.com, which are about the essentials and diving more into these keys of success. And over time, we'll be releasing more and more of these online training courses for Agile game development. All right, thank you for your time.